Mamacita, there is Santa Claus. There is a Santa Claus.
And the toys that
He will bring. Oh yeah.
Mamacita.
Welcome to the YoCast.
I look for him because it's Christmas Eve.
Woo! Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Eric Daniel, and welcome back to the YoCast. Oh my goodness, it's been a few days since we last spoke. Some of you may have noticed other videos on my channel. They are gone now. I have privated them because I am dedicating this channel to the podcast. I will probably release some of those videos again down the road for anyone that actually really truly enjoyed them. So yeah, but I just didn't want them to overcloud what this channel was going to be. And things like that. So that's what I'm gonna do. That is what I am going to do. I hope that jam got you into the mood, the Christmas mood. This week I had not heard that song at all. But once I heard it, I knew I needed it in the podcast. Where I will not be making money off that song, so, no need to get on me, copyright police, because I will not be making money off that song. Okay, people? So, where were we? Okay, so, in the last podcast, I talked about how I was getting my leg looked at. And that was a nice little adventure for a day, I suppose. Not really. I didn't quite get anywhere with that. I ended up getting x-rays, and, they looked at the bones and said, hey, the bones look good. And no one actually thought it was the bones to begin with, but with all the insurance stuff, With that being said, I wasn't going to have this insurance for too much longer, and that was actually pretty much the deciding factor into why I even got my leg looked at. So it kind of made it feel like a hassle, but, you got to do what you got to do. You only live once, and you gotta look out for your personal health, and if I have the resources, why not? That's kind of what I figured with it. But yeah, so no answers yet on the leg, and it's gut feeling. Well, hopefully it's nothing major. So, I hope everyone is feeling the holiday spirit as I am. Today is December 17th, 2017, and I'm excited to be living my life, and I am excited about the Christmas time, and all the things that come with it. Last night, kind of had like a little Christmas get-together, at my brother's, where we listened to Christmas music, drank some booze, and had junk food. Sorry if my cat, he barged in. He usually is pretty good when I do this. Hopefully he's not going to mess with this podcast. Please forgive me if it's not perfect. Okay, so it was a nice celebration. We played Quiplash, drank eggnog. I love eggnog. Personally, around every Christmas time or, this season, there's a couple things I have to have. And it's like a ritual, and I'm probably not the only guy that does this. But I have to, get my hands on some eggnog, and I know eggnog itself is a very divisive, or not divisive. It people are very, you either like it or you or you hate it. People either hate it, and to be honest, I meet more people that do not like it, but I enjoy it, and it really sets the pace for Christmas for me. And I think a lot of it, I just remember growing up and watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's Jingle All the Way, and doing that, and having watched that, and growing up, and I just always remember the neighbor in offering him alcoholic eggnog, and I knew then I needed to have some eggnog. It took me a long time until I think it was making. I hadn't had eggnog until I was working one of my first jobs. I was making my own money, I think, because my parents just didn't really buy it, even though my father likes it, and we will drink eggnog together. So that's nice. Let's see. And another thing I have to have too is those chocolate oranges. That's another thing people are so, really torn on too. Some people love those like I do, or they absolutely hate them. And I'm not one of those guys that likes just straight chocolate for the most part. Where it's just where's the rice, or the almonds or the peanuts. You know what I mean? I'm not really one for eating just plain chocolate, but with those, they're a plain chocolate with obviously the orange taste, but they're a plain chocolate, and I love them. I'll put them in my my freezer and wait for them to get real cold, and then they'll pop it almost makes them crunchy. You know what I mean? Almost. And that's it almost makes them crunchy, and for me, in some ways it makes it taste better for me. I don't know. I like them normally, for sure. I'd melt those suckers on a spoon, take it to the vein. If there was the only way I could get it. Okay, maybe not that dramatic. But I don't know. What can I say? I really like them. The raspberry ones, pretty good too. If you're on the fence on those ones, I'd say try them. They're good, but for me, the chocolate orange is where it's at. You know what I mean? So, I just got to tell you, I am very excited to be talking to you wet-nippled people. You know what I mean? You wet-nippled crazy people. I liked how the first podcast went over. People seemed excited. People hadn't been excited about that for an Eric Daniel video in a while. So very excited. Tell you the truth, a lot of people know me for the Eric Daniel show videos. That know when it comes to me doing videos. That's the one that they know me for, but it is not anywhere close to my most popular channel. And truthfully, it turned into like a challenge video kind of channel, but really I wanted to do skits and well, I did always want to have it be whatever it was gonna be, And I mentioned how I got into doing videos because I was depressed to begin with. I'm very grateful and proud of what I did so far with it. Some of my bigger achievements have been on the channel, but they're forever ago. I was on, like I said, I was on the Science is Stupid, if you didn't know, and I waxed my body with a 4-wheeler, and even that video I put on private. But maybe that's one that stands a really good chance of coming back. You know what I mean? So. For some reason, please be patient with me. I cannot breathe for crap today, but we're gonna roll with it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, you sexy werewolves and were ladies or whatever's. You know what I'm saying? You just all sexy people. and we's gonna do this, and we gonna kick some ass at it, all right? So, that was one of the videos that was privated, and but I feel like this podcast, the podcast is the rebirth of the channel, and I'm excited. And I'm excited where this is going. I'm really excited for when I start getting some input, some more like what you want to hear me talk about, and things like that. I've already got some input about people saying, giving me tips, or congratulations as well. But I mean, we're just getting the ball rolling, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to see where it's gonna go. So, and a lot of the criticism was, let's get a format going, and I think I was just super, super excited to, I don't know, perhaps hop into the game. You know what I mean? I finally made up my mind how I was going to do it. So once I made up my mind how I was going to do it, I think I just kind of was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get into it, And kind of what I wanted to, one of the things I want to do is I want to talk about my personal life, my personal views, and I want to, and of course I want to talk about MMA, and I think in a lot of ways I want to kind of like, hit up my thoughts and whatever throughout the week, and I've been, like I said, I've been feeling, I have some big changes going on in my life. I got on some anxiety medicine. Never been on any medicine in my life. So that, that's a important step. Because honestly, I believed in my, I basically had my life stopped for like 2 years, to be honest. And, I think, later on I would get like anxiety, and when I would get the anxiety, that's what led to me being depressed. Now, since having joined the gym, I do feel so much better. But I think I just wanted something for just in case. You know what I mean? Just in case. And I'm not really like a big medicine guy, so I think but on this one, I figured I'd take a risk, and we'll see. And I'm kind of like doing like a, almost like a trial period with it right now. So far I haven't made up my mind if it makes me tired or not, or I'm just plain old tired. So far I'm leaning toward it makes me just a little bit tired. But I can tell you I haven't been feeling anxiety, but I was doing pretty decent before. So, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. I had, I think one of the beautiful things I think I can talk about is, like relationship stuff, or I am definitely not an expert in relationships. It's clear with my track record, but I'm a person that is willing to look at themselves, and I do it constantly, maybe too much. There's a good chance I do it too much. But maybe, like I said, this is ultimately like a lot of it's for expressing myself, you know what I mean? But also, if I can give somebody something to think about from my experience, then, that's no shame in that game, and I would love for, if I giving you something to think about can, be a positive in your mindset or your life, then, hell yeah, that's what can I say? That is something I look forward to doing. For me, I dabble very little in the dating game these days. Like I said, I went through some pretty rough stuff dating, and a lot of it I was just naive, and I didn't, prime example, weird thing to think. I know this probably sounds weird, but when I was like a teenager, I used to believe, for some reason, and who knows, maybe I was watching too much TV and not talking to enough girls, Probably a good chance. But I used to believe, and maybe in the comment section you can tell me a weird thing you used to believe about dating. That later on you're like, what the fuck? But I used to believe that, like, if a girl was good looking, for some reason I used to believe that she was like automatically like an angel. Like, if you looked like an angel, you must be an angel. You look like an angel, you smell like an angel, you must be an angel. But later on, I come to realize that is definitely not the truth. You know, you tend to, it was a young guy mindset, and I believe I was always taught to, like, treat a girl good, treat a woman good. But I think being younger and stuff like that, I was always taught, you don't hit them, and you don't cheat on them, and you don't do this, and you don't do that. And just I don't know. I just always was taught very strictly about, treating women good. But I don't ever think I was ever taught about what to do when a woman's not exactly an angel, you know what I mean? Or willing to treat you good or be honest with you and things like that. You know what I mean? And I think I've always been a little behind on the curb in a lot of ways anyways, because I always felt that way from being when I was held back and after I really felt like I lost 2 years of my life, and I really did, but I did and I didn't, because it set me on the right path as well. When all I would do is work, and then I would go and I would stay in my room, because that ultimately led me to, I probably could have maybe seen help or something like that, but I also did a lot of learning by myself, and I think that's also good too, you know what I mean? To get your training wheels off on your own, I think that was healthy for me as well. So I have no regrets. I have no regrets in how that all went. I learned how to, I got into doing YouTube. I found my passion for it, and I found every time I did a video, it made me feel better, and because I was like I said, I was super, 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 super depressed, and for every video I did, I would feel better, and when I first started doing them, it would feel better for like a little bit, and then I needed to do another video, but ultimately I think it was because I was actually working towards something, you know what I mean, and creating. And what led to me even doing that is one day I was like, I don't know, I felt like it hit me, because of looking back at my life, and I was looking, just like, man, sick of feeling miserable, sick of locking myself in a dark room and just watching videos and listening to music. Now, I did learn a lot of new great bands. That was cool. But, that's just not healthy. You know what I mean? It's not healthy. And my ex-girlfriend, she used to be able to pop back in my life in like a moment and just mess me up. I needed to not talk to her, and I needed her out of my life, and she knew, and she would always know what was going on with me no matter what. She'd like create fake accounts and talk to me, and I think I just wanted to be like cared about by a girl, and she would mess with me with fake accounts and things like that. But like I said, I found so much about myself, and I found my passion in doing YouTube. Doing YouTube is my passion, and I also, how it all triggered is I felt like I needed to get back to the roots of who I was, and the roots of who I believed I was, and I defined myself by, I guess, was, I remember I was like my class clown, and I just remember, life was good when I was in school, right before, I started dating the girl and things like that. I felt like life was really, really, really good, and I wanted to get back to being who I believed I was. Now, I didn't have much life experience, and so you'll fall for a lot of things in that time too, and I was just a sucker in general, but I think my heart was in the right place, and, I learned so much from it, and it's just years and years of, like, pushing a snowball down the hill, you know what I mean, and the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The positives I've gained since making that decision in my life, you know what I mean. I think ultimately, that I had no life experience, and then I think I dealt with a girl that was extra unordinary in how she handled things and how she lived her life, and definitely in how she behaved, and but that's the past now, and I'm not trying to put her down. I'm just trying to put things, say, like, I had so many positive things come from that decision that day, leading to now, and I tell a lot of people, I just say, I'm getting better every day. I'm getting better every day. So if maybe if you're possibly going through something like that, maybe your life's just leading you. Your life's just leading you to that passionate thing where it's gonna change your life. You know what I mean? Just like my life was changed, your time is coming, and I'm excited for you, and I hope you feel the way I felt when I found that thing, and I had really bad anxiety, and like I said, I would do a video, and it would be like a short while, and I'd feel good, and then it would go away and back to the same old thing, and I would make another video, and it's the same thing, and the same, and eventually, I didn't need to make videos to make myself feel good, or I just was good, and it's just funny how it goes, and for a long time, I was actually just talking to a girl. I've been talking to her for a couple weeks now. Things were going really good. I felt like things were going really good, and she just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And that does happen. I've been. It's not the first time I've been there. And I was genuinely getting excited to see where things were gonna go with this girl. It seemed like she was taking her time, I was taking my time. We were just taking our time getting to know each other. And that's a beautiful thing. I also feel like I'm getting better in a lot of ways in my life where I think I had a level of just being like self-destructive after all the stuff I went through. And I think it was mostly a deep-rooted fear of being hurt that way. But about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I was dating another girl, and it took me a long time to really feel like I opened up, to like open up a certain part of myself. And I was dating this girl, and I really, really started opening up. And but the thing is, the big mistake I made in there, and I don't think it's really a mistake, but it ultimately is leading me to where I'm going. You know what I mean? And I hope more people could adopt that mindset, because it has done miracles for me. And I'm not trying to preach to you, but I just want to talk about my life and express myself. I had bonded with that girl, and the thing is, she had like a lot of pain from her ex before me, and they were married, and I mean, so it was, things got really serious. Luckily for me, in my situation, I didn't marry that girl. Woo, my life would have been hell. I'll tell you that. Could be dead by now. No, I don't know about that, but probably have a scar on my face, and I have this chick kicked my ass. Tell a story. But But anyway, so this girl, I felt like I was finally opening up and being. It was a beautiful thing to know that I could open up that way again. You know what I mean? That's what I took from it. It didn't work out. And I was really, really crushed that it didn't work out. You know what I mean? But I guess what? It helped me forget big time about my other prior ex that put me through, 7 years of garbage. So that was a huge plus. And, with this one, she, I forgot all about the other one, but she had a lot of issues with her past, and and I don't know, I got really emotional when the closer we got, she would get more scared. She would get cold feet, you know what I mean? And that definitely messed with me. And I got emotional. And and I learned from that too, because I think I didn't make the situation any better when I was being a whiny little bitch. I didn't, and I think that with her, she is ultimately going to be an amazing woman. Just not for me. You know what I mean? Had I have liked that, for sure. She ended up, like I said, she left me ultimately, and she got cold feet big time. I don't really fully understand what really happened with her. I got a lot of mixed messages toward the end, but I know me being a whiny bitch sure didn't help. It sure didn't help. So I just want to say, hopefully people aren't, you're not going to be, if you go through your own shit, try not to get in your own way. I mean, I don't think it was going to work out anyways, because every time something beautiful would happen, you could tell we were so happy for a moment. She'd be happy, and it was legit. She was legitimately happy, and then you could tell a fear would just wash over her. She had a fear of letting someone in, and I think ultimately, and I was just finally being able to let someone in. I was just a little farther along, and I hope she learned some valuable things from me as I did that situation. I think she's going to be wonderful for someone someday, and just unfortunately it wouldn't be for me, but that just means there's something better in my cards, and as well for her. So, and then I was kind of getting that read from this chick, man, the way our conversations were going and stuff. I was kind of getting that read from this chick, man, it could have potentially blossomed into something, and she fell off the face of the earth. Now, I used to let that kind of stuff tear me up. That would tear me up, especially But now I know that I am capable of growing and loving and being to the extent where I was only find that with a woman that is worthwhile. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing knowing that. And I learned those things through those failed relationships. So I just hope that, I'm just saying my story, and I hope if it resonates with you and it gives you something to think about and it becomes a positive in your life, then I did something right in my life, And that's just another reason that those things happen, for a reason. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely hoping, I am hoping to, you just gotta live your life. You know what I mean? I recently joined the gym, and that was really good for me, and that was me getting over and ending a certain chapter in my life, because I had anxiety for that for so long. But And I used to think, just get a gym partner and things like that. But I ultimately ended up doing it by myself, and I'm freaking proud of myself, And I think if you're someone who's too nervous to go and join a gym and stuff, eventually you're gonna get to a point where whatever that was in your way, as long as you dedicate a certain level of your mindset to growing as a person, or even if it's small stuff, you celebrate the small stuff, because that's definitely what I had to do when I was going through my immense depression, and I found ways to coping with it, and I also found ways to help other people through it, and ultimately, probably when I die, that'll probably be the greatest thing I ever did in my whole life. So, sorry, don't mean to be all depressing on this one. I hope it didn't depress you. I just hope I gave you something to think about in the future, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that girl fell off the face of the earth, but that's just mean. And there's so much truth to there's plenty of fish in the sea thing. There's so much, but if you're not dipping your toes in the sea, you're not going to ever meet anyone, too. But also, if you just ain't got it in you, don't be throwing that pressure on yourself either. You know what I mean? That is bad for you. Do not do that. So, that was definitely, you got to be in the game to play the game, But ultimately, you also gotta, one thing I realized through my life is I needed to love myself before I was capable of being a better, loving someone else in a healthier way too, you know what I mean? Or in a healthy way. And, I think there's a lot of times in my life I got in my own way, and I'm slowly working on it. And, just hopefully you're not getting in your way. And if you are getting your way, that you have it in you that you can be like, whoa, how can it make sense? Like, why do I always say the wrong thing even though I know that was not, like, I don't know, like, when I needed to say this, why did I say that, or when I need not to be a bitch about something, why was I being a bitch about something, It's a strange thing when and everyone's got their hang-ups, so hopefully you can just you got yours, and you can lock in on them, and with time I can promise you this, with time, if you know what's getting you and what's messing up a certain part of your life that you'd like to fix, I guarantee you, if you live your life and you actively try to be better about that stuff, you will make progress on that. I can tell you that. It's when you simply quit trying, that's when you screw yourself. For sure. So yeah, I guess I'm probably going to talk a little bit about MMA now. That's something I would like to continue to do, and say my opinions on certain things, and let's see. Let's talk about yesterday's UFC Fox 26. And I'm only gonna talk about a couple fights on that, because there was only a couple fights, to be honest, I got to watch, so I don't really feel like I can say too much on it. I had opinions from the get-go, or questions in my mind from the get-go, and but I was busy with that Christmas party, so I was like, oh shit. And so I was only able to catch the tail end of UFC on Fox 26. And the Josh Emmett versus Ricardo Lamas fight, what I can say about that, I noticed, I feel like Ricardo Lamas is a decently well-rounded kind of guy. He's been around a bit. Still a young dude, but he's been around a bit. And versus Josh Emmett. And I feel like Josh Emmett, he just goes in and swings for the fences for the most part. And I've seen him get screwed with that. Only once. Obviously, he has a really good record. So he's only had one loss. But I question where that slugfest kind of mentality will get, where it will go with him when some people find a way to like kick his legs and try to stop that knockout power. Now, he won that fight with Ricardo Lamas. He did. And it was a brutal knockout. And Josh Emmett is definitely he seems like a very likable guy, He seems very likable. It just raises the question, and he definitely hits like a brick shit house. There's no way around it. He hits like a brick shit house. He kind of almost, I'm like, man, damn, he's like a mini, mini vanilla Mike Tyson when he's swinging that. He's throwing it full strength for sure. You know what I mean? And he clipped Ricardo because he was just on him on that. You know what I mean? But it makes you wonder if someone keeps moving and leg kicking him and he can't clip him with those power shots, how will it go? You know what I mean? How will it go? But hey, man, congrats to him. I've been following him for a while now. I liked adding him on Facebook before he was even famous, and he's not exactly world's most famous UFC fighter, but he's gaining, where he's able to talk to people, before you could actually just chat with him. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes with him. I'm excited for the guy. He comes from an amazing camp, Team Alpha Male. So, I mean, congrats to him. And Ricardo Lamas is no easy task, and he hit him. He hit him like a brick shit house. So, I think Ricardo Lamas will be back, and he's gonna keep doing well though. And I think it's gonna be very interesting to see where Josh Emmett's adventure goes. I think none of those guys want to get clipped by what he can throw, so it'll be very interesting to see. And then, what else I want to talk about? I want to talk about the Robbie Lawler versus RDA, Rafael dos Anjos fight. UFC's largest combo was unleashed in that fight. He was throwing some pepper. RDA was throwing some pepper in that fight. And it makes you these long drawn out battles. I mean, Robbie Lawler gets stuck with these long drawn out battles, and he's not coming out unscathed. He's just tough as nails. But the truth is, man, it does make you wonder how much he's gonna be able to keep doing that when it's just long battle. I mean, everyone always jokes around about fifth round Robbie Lawler, like how unbeatable he can be in the fifth round after these long wars. You know what I mean? And it's just gonna be interesting to see where things go with him. He probably could. I know he had a lengthy layoff, but a little while back, but he's been fighting steady now. But it makes you just wonder, could he use some more TLC or maybe a few more fights just to get his confidence back? He doesn't seem like a guy that gets his confidence shaken, really. He seems like a very chill dude. Or maybe he's just a little too chill in the mindset compared to what he used to be. I don't know. He's definitely a badass still, and he's going to continue to be a badass. I just feel like there's something in there that needs to click with him. You just need, and you'll see him back to kicking some ass. You know what I mean? I believed Donald Cerrone won that fight with Robbie Lawler. You know what I mean? I really did. I thought Donald Cerrone was strategic when he fought him and did enough for the win. But anyone that gets cracked by Robbie Lawler, there's a good chance he's going to put you down in that division anyways. And that was one of those things that I really questioned, and I was curious about with RDA. I was extremely curious with RDA, to see, how well he'll handle those punches. He fought a very, very smart, like, well, he just, the leg kicks, and then he was getting out of the way of those heavy punches, but a lot of the power is generated in your hips and your legs, and taking those leg kicks. He was very smart to do that, because Robbie definitely had the potential to knock him out. There's no way around it. But he, RDA is ever since I've watched him for years fight, and he has always been this guy, very good at strategy and a lot of heart. I mean, the dude has always had a lot of heart. And he, I mean, I don't know, man. He knows how to put it together and just bring a thunderstorm on you, and it's like he'll have these times where some of his losses, it made you wonder, like, did he show up? Because you'll either get these clean sweeps, these brutal beatdowns from the guy, or when he loses, it'll be like it didn't seem like the same guy, But the sky's the limit for RDA, really, I feel like, because it just depends on which guy shows up, and a lot of times you'll see, more times than not, it'll be the badass, but yeah, no, he's a great fighter, and I really respect what he's done, and the same with Robbie Lawler. And I was very curious. I was like, I felt like it could have went the way it went, but then you have the factor of Robbie Lawler's just so tough, and the shit he took, and the combos he took, and the elbows he took. I mean, that says something. He's definitely tough enough to keep taking the abuse, you know what I mean? Probably not good for him, obviously, but he's clearly still tough, and he's still an amazing athlete. You can't take it away from him. He's still not a guy you want to get in a fight with, So, that's my thoughts on it, and was I surprised that it was a clean sweep like that? No, not really. But it it could have went the other way, depending on who showed up that night. You know what I mean? Hats off to both of those guys for sure. And then next, what I want to talk about in the MMA world is the Bellator heavyweight tournament. It's a very curious. Some of these matchups are very curious, like. And what I like about them it's like a lot of people you wouldn't expect that there's a potential for them to fight, and no one really ever really expected that to happen with quite a few of these. So that's badass, super badass. All right, so listen, cupcakes. So the first matchup in the heavyweight tourney. And it's a shame they're not going to have it all on the same night. I think that would have been badass. Get it all, and then the winner continues on and fights. That would have been really, really cool, but they're not going to do it that way. And I think a lot of it's because they're like a lot of the star power that Bellator has. I mean, it says a lot when like Chael Sonnen is in it, who spent most of his career as a middleweight fighter, is going up to heavyweight to, to fight. So they're putting a lot of their star power in there. And I would also love to see what would happen if they did have, because Rory McDonald wanted to be a alternate. It'd be very, very interesting to see. Could you imagine Rory McDonald versus Roy Nelson? Like, if that ever came to be, wouldn't that be extremely interesting to see? I mean, can Rory, Roy's definitely fast enough. He'd probably get out of the way of those heavy punches, but is he going to be able to hit hard enough to put Roy Nelson away? You know what I mean? It's just very interesting. You know what I mean? It's just people you wouldn't expect to fight being thrown in, or even Chael Sonnen fighting. Imagine if it goes, because Roy Nelson is going to be fighting Matt Mitrione. And that makes sense. I mean, they've spent their career being heavyweights. It makes sense. You know, that's one of the fights that you go, okay, you know, they really are true heavyweights, and they are fighting in their weight class. And I think that's why they also scheduled them first, because you get them to fight, and they do their thing, and it's going to make it interesting. Absolutely. And then, so for starters, you have Rampage Jackson in the first tier of the tournament is Rampage Jackson versus Chael Sonnen. Now, that's also a fight I never saw coming. Like, you just don't see those guys going head-to-head. You don't see that being what happens, And it's just funny. It's just a match, and I watched a short clip of them, and they did their first face-off, Chael and Rampage, and everyone knows, maybe not everyone knows, but if you watched Rampage's last fight against King Mo, you can tell. I mean, Rampage had put on a ton of weight, and they actually did the fight as heavyweight. So he's definitely a heavyweight now. He literally put on 50 pounds. So he's a true blue heavyweight now, I think. Well, I feel like, there's something going on with him. He had to gain the weight, or maybe just he struggles getting weight off now. So, but long story short, he definitely weighs what a heavyweight would be. Would he be probably shorter than quite a few heavyweights? Man, maybe. One thing I did notice about that fight is his gas tank. His gas tank went to garbage. Is he still capable of being entertaining? Obviously, yes, I believe he is. But it'll be interesting to see how Rampage can handle. I mean, he hits hard, and he's always hit hard, and he has solid wrestling. I mean, Chael Sonnen definitely has solid wrestling. And he definitely doesn't hit as hard as Rampage. But Chael Sonnen can also be very fast. And it's going to be interesting to see how the fight goes. I hope we don't have a similar situation as that Tito Ortiz fight. A very questionable fight where people when the outcome came and Tito submitted Chael, it seemed everyone was a little questionable about that fight. You know what I mean? Because there were some things in Chael's strengths, and he just completely flopped on it. Now, historically, people say Tito is extremely, extremely powerful, but I don't know. And that's what he said. He said Tito was very powerful, and he just didn't expect him to get him, and he did. So we'll I try not to look back at that Tito fight with Chael Sonnen. And more like that Vanderlei Silva. That was a kind of fight that reminded me of like Chael Sonnen and how Chael Sonnen's always been. So it's a very interesting match because I think Chael Sonnen will have the speed advantage. And I wouldn't be shocked if he gets Rampage down if he gets Rampage down, if he can pummel him. But if Rampage can land one of those clean shots, it'll be interesting. It's one of those fights I never really saw coming together, but look where we're at. You could probably sort of see it come. There's a chance of it based off of how things were playing out with Bellator, and now look where we're at. But it's just very interesting. Fedor versus Frank Mir. That's the second tier of that, and the winner of the Chael Sonnen versus Rampage Jackson will fight the winner of Fedor versus Frank Mir. That's an interesting matchup. It'll be interesting to see which Frank Mir shows, especially since I think what was it? I believe because he's been out for a bit now. And then he came to Bellator while being suspended because of his fight. He was ended up being suspended, I believe, for some sort of human growth hormone, or he definitely failed the USADA testing, and he did. I believe it had something to do with that. So it'll be interesting to see which one shows up. Frank Mir had been fighting pretty good prior to how that all went down in the UFC. His boxing was looking actually pretty good, and he's always been really good with the submissions. So now, obviously Frank Mir hadn't been before his bike accident and messing up his knee and stuff. I mean, he was just what a force, and he hasn't quite been that way since, but he did get on like a 4-fight win streak, and he was doing pretty good. He had a good comeback going, so that'll be pretty interesting to see how things are gonna play out with that. I believe like there's a chance, he could he could tag him. I believe there's a chance Frank Mir could tag Fedor. Now, obviously Fedor he's had a history of being able to come back in fights and have such heart, But, that Matt Mitrione fight, I don't believe we saw the Fedor of old, So that throws things into an interesting perspective, and I think that's a fair matchup. Frank Mir versus Fedor Emelianenko is a very fair and interesting matchup. And then you have King Mo versus Ryan Bader, which, Ryan Bader is light heavyweight champion. Bellator's light heavyweight champion, and then, versus King Mo. King Mo, they both have, both of them have great wrestling and pretty good power. They've been known for knocking people out. Ryan Bader's boxing has come along leaps and bounds. He's always was powerful, but being able to, hitting people with jabs and hooks and stuff, he's really come along in that way in the last few years. It's a very interesting match. I think it's going to be a very one of the pretty exciting matchups. I always felt like Ryan Bader was a pretty beefy light heavyweight anyway, so I'm sure he's not going to be much different walking in as heavyweight. I just feel like he cut weight. Now, I mean, all these guys, all these guys really have cut weight throughout the years. But it's going to be very interesting to see, like, say, Chael Sonnen is pulling out wins. Like, just imagine him fighting some of these heavyweights is a very interesting thing. Just knowing that he came from middleweight, And a lot of these guys are definitely not true heavyweights, but they're big names. They're big names for Bellator, and they know how to make. Scott Croker, he knows how to make money, and I like these matchups just because they're interesting. And he said he wasn't opposed to the Rory McDonald as a sub, just in case something happens to someone. And I think that's a pretty neat trait in a president. You know what I mean? Of a fight organization. So, who I think has a pretty good chance of winning it. To be honest, I feel like Ryan Bader has a really good chance of winning the tournament. A lot of these guys have been through plenty of wars. He's got speed on him and power. So I feel like Ryan Bader has a really good chance of winning this. Matt Mitrione, he stands a pretty decent chance. He's just fast, and he's a very big and powerful guy. But I really feel like Ryan Bader stands a great chance. It'll be interesting to see, like, say, Roy Nelson versus Ryan Bader, how that would play out. Ryan Bader would probably definitely have the speed advantage and cardio advantage. Roy Nelson has always had decent cardio for being such a big guy. But he does gas. He's famous for gassing. If he clips you with one of those overhands, I mean, he puts people out. That dude can put any one of these guys out. No way around it. But can he land it? Can Roy Nelson land that? And he has amazing jiu-jitsu. It's just he doesn't really I mean, I feel like he just does not. He always, because those knockouts got win bonuses and things like that, and I think he just kind of got away from it. But his jiu-jitsu is what got him to the big leagues to begin with, and yeah, he was capable of knocking people out, but his jiu-jitsu is no joke, and it'll be very interesting. Or it'd be very interesting to see how things play out if Roy Nelson and Frank Mir go to the ground. That'd be interesting. Anyone that's fighting Roy Nelson is not going to want to be clipped by that power shot, and they're going to definitely have that in mind, So I'm extremely. This is one of the events that have had me most excited from Bellator. I would really like that Michael Venom Page versus Paul Daly fight, but I think pretty much everyone is excited about that. I think I think Page is kind of like, he's definitely clearly a different type of guy, but I feel like in a lot of ways he's potentially like Bellator's Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Especially with that Cyborg fight, and just all of his exciting knockouts. Then he goes to boxing, and he gets a crazy knockout, and the internet talks about it. You know what I mean? I feel like he's kind of like Bellator's Conor McGregor and can be a true breakout star. I think it's also really cool. Like Valerie Letourneau, she came to from the UFC to Bellator and made her debut in Bellator in the most recent event. And she did well. And with her, she decided to walk away from the UFC. They didn't cut her. And I think she was a very solid fighter, and she's still got a lot of fight in her. And it's good to see her having success, and she went for a paycheck in Bellator. And a lot of, that Reebok deal kills so much, and it's been killing so much of the sport for the UFC fighters. It's been killing so much for them, and I think it's the ultimate factor in why you see so many fighters go and join Bellator. So it'll be interesting to see how many more go, because we've had so many. But a lot of people say, oh, they're already on their way out. But they got Gegard Mousasi and Rory McDonald. I mean, Rory McDonald is no joke, and he's been doing so. I mean, he was doing so well in the UFC. He's got his fight coming up. That'll also be interesting to see how many more of these great fighters will go, or successful fighters in the UFC will go over, and not guys that are people already are saying on their way out. Because there's a handful that have went over that you're like, oh, that's not a good loss for the UFC. There's quite a few. And the number is growing. So it'll be very interesting to see. I'm a fan of MMA, so I'll watch, pretty much any fight league as long as, there's great fights to be had there. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be very interesting to see where things go with that. But, yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this episode of the podcast for now. I am so excited to talk about more things. Hopefully we're gonna have more diverse subjects coming. You want me to talk about new technology and all that? I'm glad to. I am very open to input, and yeah, I can't wait to just keep bringing it. I hope you silly gooses enjoyed the podcast. And I hope you're here for the comedy, and I hope you're also here for the deep stuff and just the real stuff. And I'm extremely excited to see where this will go. So thank you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again. Y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful night, you badass motherfuckers. Thanks for listening. Till next time.